I'm Bo Hansen, your host for Season 6 of the ICC Pulse Podcast. Guys, it has been a pleasure getting to do this show with y'all this season, and I want to personally thank you for tuning in and hopefully learning beside me. I got to admit, I'm such a fan of what today's guests are going to be talking about. It's called American Plumber Stories. My family here in Beaumont has a 6th-generation plumbing shop, and so many of my earliest memories, and even cutting my teeth in the construction industry as a young man, it all happened there. So believe me when I say this episode is going to be an incredibly personal one to me. I was clicking around on their website in preparation for this episode and watching some of their content, and instantly I could tell that they nailed the heart of the industry. Their content features plumbers, both men and women, alongside teachers and influencers who are reshaping the plumbing industry. It's blue-collar storytelling at its best that's meant to inspire, educate, and entertain us all. The subject of education and plumbing and building safety in general, man, that's the heartbeat of the Code Council. So getting to hear it from the perspective of the field, from the actual plumbers out there doing the work, the ICC is proud to be a sponsor of Season 5. Okay, let's get into it. My guests today are Spencer Brown, who is the Director of Sales for Pfister Faucets, but relevant to today's conversation, he is the project lead for American Plumber Stories. Also joining us is Tom Roberts. Tom is the Global Executive Director for ICC PMG, Plumbing Mechanical Gas. Guys, I want to personally welcome to the show. Glad y'all are here.
Thanks, Bo. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks. It's good to be here.
Tom, you it looks dark behind you. Where are you located?
So I'm on the other side of the world. I'm over in Australia, and yeah, it's quite early in the morning for me. Yeah, 6 a.m., which is sometimes a sleep in for me. There's a lot of meetings early in the morning with the US and late in the evenings with the UK. So I get the pleasure of working across many time zones.
Well, I'm glad you did that for us, and Spencer and I didn't have to wake up in the middle of the night to record this. Thanks for bearing that. Guys, tell me about y'all's connection. How did y'all first connect?
Well, I guess I'll start, Tom. So we're approaching our 5th season of American Plumber Stories, and so it's been out for a little bit, and ICC reached out. They had seen the episodes and immediately said, we want to be part of this. We love what you're doing with the trades, next generation. This is who we are. It's our mission as well. How can we get involved? At the time, Season 5 was coming up. We had just finished Season 4. We didn't know exactly where we wanted to take Season 5 and who we were going to feature. And so I just gradually mentioned, said, we'd love to have you, but think of something different. We want to maybe look at a bigger approach of what we're doing. So I said, okay. About a week later, they called and said, how about going to Australia? And I said, okay, well, that's different. And they were talking about how things are very similar to the U.S. when it comes to next generation plumbers. And I then reached out to Tom, who without Tom, we wouldn't have gotten around because they drive on the wrong side of the road. So that's another help on Tom. But so that's how we connected. They helped us with a plumber we featured, and that's where we got started.
Drive on the wrong side of the road. Is it true their toilets flush backwards also?
Yeah, that's the running joke with plumbing. We do everything different. But yeah, not only the other side of the road, the steering wheel's on the other side of the car. So we had a few little adventures going around roundabouts and things where the whole film crew would grab onto the car as we went into an intersection or something. So we made for an enjoyable trip. Very entertaining for me.
I would imagine. Tom, I want to start with you on what you're involved in specifically with ICC, and then we're going to actually come full circle to y'all's connection again towards the end of the show. But what is your focus at ICC?
Yeah, so I look after everything to do with plumbing, mechanical, fuel gas, swimming pool spas, all the plumbing type areas of the organisation. But I look after everywhere in the world except for Northern America, which is well serviced by the ICC over there. So I'm working with different industry partners around the world to work towards dealing with some of the global issues that the industry is facing and some of the solutions that the ICC are working on, because the way I describe it is global problems, but an international solution. So I work with those partnerships, those different organizations, those whether that be academic or industry or other code officials or building officials from around the world, and kind of build that collaborative effort to come up with global solutions or international solutions for either codes or standards or training or whatever that solution may be. But rather than do it individually or focused on one particular jurisdiction, I look to utilize those collaborative efforts and those relationships to come up with a global solution and tap into that knowledge in different regions and come up with a solution that's going to work for everyone, not just in one particular jurisdiction. So really putting the eye and international for plumbing, mechanical, gas fitting focus.
And my goodness, I feel like we have diverse issues here just in my small municipality. I can't imagine what you run across on a global scale.
Yeah, the terminology is one big thing that I find. Every jurisdiction calls something different. And Spencer and I have made a few jokes over the time filming the show around faucets and tapware. In Australia, we don't use the terminology faucet. So that was a really kind of interesting example that we used a lot when we talked about the differences between especially the US and Australia. There's a lot of things that are really similar, and there's a lot of things that are quite different. And in Australia, we face the same challenges as the US. We've got a lack of skilled labor out there. We've got a real slow take up of plumbing and the skilled trades from the next generation. So it was a really good opportunity to get involved in this.
And Spencer, tell us more about the show in general. They heard my brief summary in the introduction, but what about you? From your perspective, we want to hear from you. What is American Plumber Stories all about?
Yeah, you brought it up, our slogan, if you will, which is to inspire, educate, and entertain. The mission of American Plumber Stories, ultimate mission, is to find that next generation of plumbing. If you walked into a high school classroom anywhere in this country, and maybe even Australia probably, if you asked them, anybody in the school, maybe 10th grade, and said, would you want to be a plumber? No one would probably raise their hand unless their father was in the industry of some sort.
Yeah, unless it's a family business.
Yeah, and pretty much. I mean, because they're like, no, heck no, I don't want to be a plumber. Why would I want to do that? I mean, that's just the way it is. We wanted to make sure that if someone could watch American Plumber Stories and you ask them again, not saying they're all going to raise their hand, we get it, but there's going to be definite interest because now they've got a mentor or they got someone to inspire them that says, man, that's a cool job. Visually, you've got to have that and see that it's not the same perceived job that we've been telling this country about for so long or what they've seen. They can see the successes. So that's the ultimate mission of the show. Where it came about was, I always tell people this, COVID changed a lot in our country. It changed the way we thought about as a brand with Pfister and how we do things differently. And as we sat there, I didn't travel for those first 6 months after traveling for 20-something straight years. And we had done some brand exercises on how can we change the perception of our Pfister brand. And I started thinking about the plumbing community, what their perception is. And every plumber across the country would tell me they could do more. They don't have any labor. Every plumber had a help wanted sign on their door or ads, whatever. It's just struggle. And it's become a major, major issue in our country. Not just plumbing, it's trades, all trades. And I would tell them all these years before COVID, I would just say, if you would just tell your story, I bet somebody would want to be a plumber because you love your job. You do really well financially and you have a skill that so many people don't have. So you're so valuable to our country. And so that's where the name American Plumber Story evolved from, is now that we're going around telling their story, because it's going to take the current successful plumber with a passion to help the next generation. It's not going to be the guidance counselors. It's not going to be the teachers. Parents don't want their kids to be a plumber. Maybe now they will, but it's got to be a plumber we got to have the Michael Jordans of the industry, the ones they look up to. And so that's where it came about. As well, we wanted the plumbers across the country to see that Pfister loves this trade. We love the plumbers we work with, and we're going to help. We're not just going to talk about it. We're going to be there to help this next generation.
Who have been some of the key players who helped get it off the ground?
I've never filmed anything. I've never been a producer of a show. I just had a vision of how we want to show this. So I reached out to a production company. It's just been absolutely amazing, called Sub 7. I sent them an email about a vision I had. Within 5 minutes, they called me back and said, we want to be a part of this. That's ultimately how we got connected to country music singer Craig Morgan as well.
Yeah.
But internally, ironically, like I said, we were going through some brand exercises that I just didn't feel very good about. And I just pitched the vision to our marketing team and they jumped on it as well. So we collaborated, put our heads together. So that's where it is. It's a very small group of people in our company. So we're very nimble that have made this thing to where it is today. It just evolved. And from a marketing perspective, if you're not in everyone's iPhones right now, you're probably not getting the message across. And not necessarily for our brand, but also for the next generation. Those younger kids are watching stuff on YouTube every day. They're not reading stuff. And so if we can have a show that they can watch in a short story, we feel like we can get that reach.
That's a good point to expand on a little bit. Y'all are exclusively on YouTube, or do y'all have some other streaming platforms available?
No, it's all YouTube, which is great because you can really rifle shoot your approach on who you want to watch and when they can watch. Yeah. They're watching all times during the day and night, and they can watch whenever. And that's the easiest way to get to that next generation is for sure YouTube. And we've got some small things we do on our website and Instagram, but YouTube is where it lands. Absolutely.
I'm out here earning my piece of the pie. A good honest buck. No, it ain't love. I was taught to do the things I do so I don't depend on anyone. I work hard enough through the years so I play whenever I want. I have more than I deserve, including a wife who says I'm hot. Yeah, it's better than a good life that I got.
Looking at where the show is now, like you said, Craig Morgan's on board now. Some really amazing shows and scenes have unfolded on American Plumber Stories. I mean, looking back, did you ever imagine it would get to this point?
No, and I think we just crossed the 13th million view. And
wow, congrats!
One of the pinnacles, I think we actually just had it a few weeks ago. I was on an airplane as I normally am, and my phone was blowing up while I was getting texts when I got on the Wi-Fi. It was the Wall Street Journal, and they did an article back in April about the trade and that percentage more people going into community college with a trade than they were going to college. So we're starting to see that shift, and they were talking about it. And the author of the article said that it was one of their best articles they've done all year. It's gotten huge traction. So they want to do a continuation of this. Ironically, the next story was how social media has influenced the trade and the influencers who are doing this. And during her research, she came across American Plumber Stories. So she reached out to us and we gave her a ton of insight, helped her with some people to talk to, did a little small feature with us as well. And the fact that we went from where we started in just a vision to being in the Wall Street Journal, that was really neat and exciting for our brand.
As those media requests and just y'all's exposure has grown and evolved, how has the show evolved in terms of maybe storytelling and production quality and just overall audience engagement? Has that shifted as, y'all have grown?
Yeah, that's one of the number one compliments we get is the production quality and how well it's done. And which means we have to up our game every season, which we try to do as well. We have amazing shooters out there in the field and the editors. In fact, I think it was last month, we won 3 Telly Awards. And these Telly Awards there's big names who win this. ESPN won some, HBO won a Telly Award, and here little old American Plumber Stories won 3 Telly Awards. And that was really exciting to see that we're getting some recognition from what we're doing, and it's getting out more and more. Low budget when it comes to our small company that we do things, but it's gotten out, and it's all because of the plumbing community. Without the plumbing community being around this and pushing it out, because this is their story. Yes, Pfister Faucets is behind this, and we talk a little bit about Pfister, but this is all about the plumber. This is their story. We're just telling it, and it's been a blast just doing this. And probably the biggest compliment that on a personal note, as well as our company, is that the amount of teachers in high schools have reached out to us saying they use this as their curriculum. It excites their students when they watch it. And so we are getting in there in the school. I grew up I live in Mississippi, not too far from you in Texas. And the same year that we started American Plumber Stories, or we developed it, I went to my son's high school graduation. And I live in the poorest state in the country. Mississippi's a poor state. Everybody knows that. We don't have a trade program in the entire state. There's not a plumbing program in the poorest state in our country. So when he graduated high school, when only 10% of the kids are winning awards and scholarships, we're just kind of leaving all the other kids behind in Mississippi, and they get right back in the cycle without any training to help them with a career. And that affected me a lot too when it came to what can we do. So when I hear these teachers in the trade schools reach out to us on a daily basis, that's really exciting for us that we're doing some good things for this country.
Absolutely. I want to circle back and maybe expand on the intent and what y'all are getting to pull off because of this. How do you think this docuseries helps educate? You talked about students, but more just the general public about the essential part of our daily lives. We know plumbing touches everything. It is such a luxury to have a functioning sewer system. But how has that impacted and educated just the general public?
I think it's definitely raised awareness for sure. Someone told us the other day, and I use this line, I stole it from them if it's okay, but they said that we got to get to a society where a mother goes to a cocktail party and brags that their son or daughter is going to a trade school and make that normalized. And right now, they're still not there yet. They're not going to brag on that. We got to normalize that being a plumber is the same thing as being a doctor in some sort. By the way, they make just as much money as that.
I love that. I've personally experienced that. I remember being in high school. Again, I come from a family of plumbers. So me and my brother both, as we were towards the end of our high school years and we knew that we were going to be plumbers, we know what our lifestyle is going to be and you can make a good living with that. But still, there's a bit of, I don't know if shame is the right word, but definitely you start comparing yourself to the folks who are going off to the major schools and all the things that they're doing. And it's just like, yeah, I'm going to go be a plumber. And getting past that, getting over that and starting to educate people earlier at what an amazing and valuable profession this is. I love the heart of it. What about the plumbing community though? Has it been received well with them? Obviously the folks who have been on the show, but plumbers outside that, have you got much feedback there?
Oh yeah. It's become a idea, went to a mission, and now it's a culture. The American Plumber Stories culture is just the logo. Everyone has stickers on their truck, the buckets. There's a lot of pride what we're doing. They've embraced it. Without their support, we couldn't have gotten this part. But absolutely, you can probably tell I'm very passionate, but just the plumbers are even more passionate about what we do. The amount of emails and text messages we get almost daily telling their story, it's been very, very supportive from all angles within the community.
Walk us down memory lane in the show as a whole. What were some of your best moments for you personally, Spencer, over the last 5 seasons?
Personally, I think it's just going around the country and hearing their stories in depth, and then the friendships we made as well on a personal note. But just the passion, the emotion that the plumbers have in this industry, and being able to take their story and their passion and then put it out for people to see. And even though the stories are different, they have the same sense of just the pride and successes, and it just makes you feel good, I guess, on that. And on a personal note, that you're able to distribute this storyline, and just the friendships we've made, it's just been all the way, even with Tom in Australia, it's now become global, and we did 2 countries this year. So yeah, it's pretty unique.
I have people walking in my office and they got to wonder what this thing is. It's a round circle, a white plastic tab, and there's purple primer and glue all over it. Can you guess what it is? It's a washer machine punch out. And I keep it in my office because on this side of the fence, being with a local jurisdiction and working with a lot of plumbers who are in the field who are experiencing a lot of frustrations, and often that relationship can be a tough one and a tense one at times, but I keep that in my office to remind me about that was one of my most frustrating last days on a job, when that tab I was trying to punch out and I lost it in my pliers and it fell all the way down into the P-trap. And I had to fish that thing out and open up a wall. And I mean, it was just a disaster. And I keep it there just to remind me of all the frustrating things plumbers go through and just the everyday stuff that they're dealing with. And then they come up here to the permitting office. How are we going to treat them? How are we going to work with them as a teammate? I got to imagine that's similar for you being in sales. And again, I know the show isn't about Pfister. You are in sales for them. And so being able to understand the trade on a more personal, empathetic level, that's got to be impactful for you and what you do there as well.
Oh yeah. Without plumbers, our product doesn't get installed, at least correctly. But we've got to support them, and they fight an uphill battle. I mean, it's an industry where they've had a negative perception for so many years.
That's not a problem unique to the US. A lot of people are leaving university and struggling to find a job, whereas plumbing, for example, is a career in high demand where you can come out of that period of training with significant savings, getting paid to study and getting paid during that time. So there's a lot of advantages out there that I don't think parents really think about, or career advisors really think about when they're advising high school students which direction to go.
I've really enjoyed the conversation this far, and it's clear what y'all are doing matters. That's life-changing stuff that people should be excited about and know about. We're going to talk about season 5 of American Plumber Stories in a bit, but first, check this out from our sponsor.
Firefighters depend on bottled air when fighting fires within large structures. Their low alarm can go off in as little as 11 minutes. Resupplying air bottles is labor-intensive and time-consuming. Firefighter Air Replenishment Systems, or FARS, emergency air fill panels, located throughout a structure, allow firefighters to refill their air bottles under full respiration in 2 minutes or less. Learn more at johnsoncontrols.com/FARS. That's johnsoncontrols.com/FARS.
We're back and talking about American Plumber Stories with Spencer Brown of Pfister Faucets and Tom Roberts from the Code Council. Y'all been doing it for 4 seasons now. Season 5 is about to release soon, and I'd love to give a preview of what to expect, kind of in a little more pull back the curtain kind of way. You've spent 4 seasons working with American plumbing shops, but then all of a sudden we're deciding to go international. What was the big hope in that? I know you told me how it came to be and how it came to pass, looking for something new, but when you first decided on that direction and you were talking with Tom, what was the intent there? What were you hoping to get out of it?
First of all, that because of social media, plumbers have unique, just like probably other genres of industry, the plumbing community is very small. Even on a world base, it's small. So social media has connected all of them together. So they all follow each other and they learn from each other. So it's a really neat group of that. And so American Plumber Stories got out because of this as well. And we get requests or emails from, I think I've told up like 25 other countries. And so
Before working with Tom?
Yes. Yeah. And
wow.
They would reach out and say, we love what you're doing. We would love to do that here. And so when we were talking with ICC about Australia, and I told somebody this other day too, Tom organized a dinner one night with some government officials. There's some other plumbers there, I think, Tom, if you correct me if I'm wrong, but very involved in the local Tasmania government. And we were just talking. And if you didn't know we were in Tasmania, other than the accent, although they're the ones with the accent, everyone says I got an accent, but I think they're
that's right. South doesn't have an accent.
Yeah, that's right. And it's like we were having the same conversation if we were anywhere in the United States. It's the exact same thing. And you could almost insert American Plumber Stories and put that in any country and it would work without saying the word American as the title. It's the same perception. So now I started realizing, yeah, it's a big issue for our country, but it's a world issue at this point. And whether it's in England or Africa, Australia, it's the exact same thing. And so we want to showcase that. And also the social media part of it. It's unique to see what other people do in other countries and how they plumb. And so we did Australia, and we'll showcase that. And I'm looking forward to that episode. We somewhat picked the Crocodile Dundee of the plumbing industry. So very unique story there. But we went to Canada as well. And we featured her Instagram handle is The Lady Plumber. Very, very popular in the United States. Marianne. And just an amazing story that she has. And it's relatable even in America, her story, which is just fascinating.
I'm really looking forward to seeing the differences and similarities. Was there anything that did catch you off guard, though?
So I might have to bring that up. I think maybe it's just the amount of dead kangaroos that were on the road. But because we have deer and possums here or roadkill, but just the amount of kangaroos that were everywhere, that was probably one thing. But they used a lot of the same products. A lot of the brands were very, very similar that they used. In fact, there's a wholesaler that is in Australia that we have in the United States that we went into, which is called Reese. That's very popular in Texas where you are. So nothing major that other than they drive on the wrong side of the road and they talk different. That's about it. What do you think, Tom?
You did make me pull over on a few occasions just to look at kangaroos, and I think a few of the locals were wondering, what are we doing on the side of the road? It's just another day in Australia, but...
Dang Americans.
Yeah.
All these, there's this car pulled over taking photos of kangaroos at every stop.
Yeah, that'd be like them wanting to stop at a dead deer every time when they're over here. But I think with Tasmania, the beauty, one of the plumber we featured, he was one of the few, if not the only one, probably for sure the few, who does remote plumbing in areas that you just don't drive your van to. It's small bush planes and helicopters and just different ways to get. He would literally have a helicopter to bring in plumbing material, water heaters and stuff. So that was unique and different that we don't really have to do in the U.S. But being a remote plumber in Australia was exciting to film for sure, to see how they do different. And I wanted to make sure, that's another thing I wanted to see, plumbers here can see how they do things differently. And I think that's the entertainment of the show, because we didn't want a boring educational, you should be a plumber. We wanted entertaining, and I think we captured that in Australia.
Yeah, I would imagine that fella's awfully resourceful, right?
Yeah, he talks about that, because when he's there, he said, you got to make sure you bring everything you can, but in the plumbing industry, you're going to have an issue where and he even says that on his Instagram post, hey, don't make fun of me. It's all I have. I'm in the middle of an island off in Tasmania, so it is what it is, but it works. And that we saw that in some cases for sure. And he talks about that. You have to be prepared, but you're never going to be prepared as a plumber in these remote areas.
And Tom, you were, as mentioned, you were incredibly involved in season 5. And how was it for you recording in Tasmania? You spend most of your time on mainland Australia, right?
Yes, I'm based on the mainland in Australia. Haven't really explored Tasmania until we got the opportunity to go down there and film some of these areas, because I think that the challenges that Martin faces as a plumber in these regions is also the benefits of it. He gets to work in some of the most remote areas, which presents challenges with bringing the materials there. You've got weight limits on the helicopter or the light plane or the four-wheel drive or whatever he needs to get to that particular job. But it is some of the most unique places in Tasmania, which is very scenic. It's a really popular holiday destination for hikers that they pay a lot of money to go to these places, or it's a remote island off the coast that not many people get to experience that particular area or the scenery that comes with that. So for me, being a part of the filming of the show, it's an opportunity that not many Australians would have, as well as being able to showcase not only these unique landscapes and the beautiful places that Martin's lucky enough to work, but some of the challenges that his type of work presents that others don't generally encounter. So as Spencer said, if you're missing that one little component, you've got to make it work. You can't just go down to the local store and get one. It involves getting another plane or another helicopter to bring that material there. There's weight limits associated with that, so you can't just bring extra stuff just in case. So it presents its challenges, but that's the challenge that motivates Martin as a plumber. And it's really the challenge itself is the benefit to it. And that was a really good experience to be a part of.
That's awesome. What else can you give us a behind the scenes look at? Anything y'all can tease right now?
I say this every season, like everyone, I'm sure they would, but this is probably going to be our best season. It doesn't take away with all the other seasons. It's just you keep raising the bar, but the storylines are very inspirational. I get emotional even in the interview process hearing these stories. So if I get emotional hearing the interviews, and I know it's going to be good on it. Starting off with Maui, that was an extremely difficult one to shoot. And that was the fires. And they had Maui where they just literally, it looked like a nuclear bomb had went off. We feature a plumber whose father was a plumber, but different company. And he literally lost everything he had. The only thing he had was a vase for flowers. And the only reason why it survived was because it was made by fire in a kiln. And that was devastating. We were there at his shop, which was 80% of it was destroyed, but we interviewed there. And then but we turned it into a positive, because now the community is going to have to rebuild. And they're going to want, very similar to the mainland, when you have these disasters, you don't have enough plumbers or trades. Now they're going to have to teach a lot of the local community to be tradesmen. That's the only way they're going to build this back. And then from there, we went to Australia. And then the third episode was Alaska. So we pretty much showed the difficulty to be a plumber with snow and ice and everything else goes to Alaska. And we got to spend time with Craig Morgan. He has a place there in Alaska. So he was there as well. And then we went to Canada with Marianne. The last episode we shot, though, very, very different. First time I've ever been to this place. And that was the Soledad State Prison in California. And, and going back, you were saying some things about earlier about starting early, the trade. I interviewed 5 inmates, and these guys did some very, very bad things, like to the extreme bad. And this was a very difficult prison. They started a plumbing program, and it has changed the trajectory. It has changed the attitude. And every one of these inmates that I interviewed, I would ask them, if you would have learned this trade at age 13 or 14, instead of going into the gangs, And they were just adamant that it would have changed their life. They wouldn't have committed those crimes. They wouldn't have been right where they were because they hated school. There was not a father around, and they got into the cycle because the only value of life they had was being part of a gang. There wasn't something to look forward to or having a sense of accomplishment. The only accomplishment was something, a crime they did that the gangs were publicizing in some whatever way they do. And so we talk about that a lot, and it got emotional. It was very difficult, but the warden at the prison gave us full access anywhere we wanted to go with cameras. So we look forward to showcasing that, and not to showcase because we're sensitive about some of the victims that got in the episode of what happened, but it's more about the folks watching who may make a decision in the future. So that's real important. And then in the story with the plumber who teaches the inmates who's a plumber, that's a neat story too. And then the last episode is going to be back in California. 3 younger guys who are just crushing it on social media. One is Replum, his name is Evan, and he's got like 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. And he's only 23 years old. And so he was in the article of Wall Street Journal. So we want to make sure we show that. And he's part of the Mother Flusher company. And they 3 have gotten together. So we look forward to sharing that story. So that's what we got season 5. And I think it's going to be our best one. Absolutely.
And here I was thinking it was all Australia. So y'all are all over the place for season 5.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Australia is a main episode.
Okay.
Now, I think that I could easily do a season in Australia for sure. Unfortunately, I get paid to sell faucets, but ICC is with us the entire season.
I wish we would have had this interview like 2 weeks ago. I was in Maui last week, and we stayed just north of Lahaina. And you're right, man. It's devastating. Obviously, you see it on the news, but you see it in person, and it's just a whole nother level. And man, to be able to talk to a local plumbing shop there, that would have been amazing.
Yep.
Tom, what about you? What was your favorite memory of season 5?
I think probably the full experience of just filming the show and seeing what Martin does, because it is quite unique. He gets to work in these fantastic locations that not many people see generally, but the work he does and his approach to it is just very challenging, and how he works to those challenges was a really good experience to be a part of. I think being on the outsides, watching the film crew as well, they just see things differently to everyone else. They'll be looking at something and look at it. That's a really beautiful scenic location, but they'll see their camera angles, they'll see the different shots that they can make out of it. So that they use their creativity and just think about different scenarios differently. So it's really interesting to see how they approach different things and how they approach the filming and what angles they're going to look at. And they're very experienced in it. They know what they're doing, and it's fantastic to be able to witness all that come together. Spencer, from your perspective, I know you left Australia where it was summer over here. We were snorkeling, we were enjoying the warm weather. You went straight from there to Alaskan winter. You've got the full experience.
Well, my journey on that experience was I went from Australia straight to your kitchen and bath show in Las Vegas. Literally flew into for 2 nights and then went straight from there to Alaska to film. So the way I packed, I had my Australian clothes I shipped back when I got to Vegas, and I had a shipment of Alaska clothes shipped to the hotel in Vegas. So I swapped out. But I will tell you this, Bo, you got to help me. So I have tried somewhat, for the most part, the one state we have not done a story in. Guess what state it is?
Come on, Texas.
Texas. And I'm like, so
I know a plumbing shop.
I know. So you're going to have to help me get one of the largest states with amazing plumbers, and we do really well with Pfister. It's like, I'm looking for a Texas story. So maybe I'm going to have to hire you to be an agent to go find me a great story. So that's on you, bro. Yeah. If we can do it in Australia, we can do it in Texas. Come on.
I'm telling you, pretty much the same climate, I think. So maybe to conclude, Spencer, take a moment to encourage the listeners how they can subscribe and support American Plumber Stories.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the biggest things. We just got to continue to get it out. First of all, YouTube, subscribe, American Plumber Stories YouTube page. You actually could go to AmericanPlumberStories.com, and all of that's there right there. You can even watch the episodes from the website, but subscribe would be very strong. Instagram to get all the updates. I know we have Facebook and LinkedIn as well. I think we have a TikTok account, but we're not really good at TikTok. We're going to have to hire probably a 17-year-old for that or something to do that. But I will tell you that you'd be surprised these plumbers, they're crushing it on social media. They're getting these plumbers that were having over 100,000 followers now and probably spending more time on their iPhone doing TikToks than they are actual plumbing. That has really helped the trajectory on the finding the next generation too. They're doing it. They're becoming little mini American Plumber Stories themselves of what they're doing.
Yeah, that's perfect. And then tradition of the podcast to close, a little bonus round question here. Tom, you might know what's coming. I got to ask, and it's going to be interesting questions, I presume, from you two with where y'all are and just all the traveling y'all have done. What is your favorite building and why? And that's to both of y'all.
Well, I'll answer that first while he's thinking. I'm a hunter, outdoorsman. My favorite building's in a tree. Does that count? I get out of buildings. Yes, a box pond. There, yeah, that's my favorite building that I'm in. I'd love to get out. I don't really do much of the inside stuff at all. In fact, I'm here at our lodge right now. And although maybe it was Australia when we went to the Opry House. That was neat. Tom took me there.
Oh, yeah.
I never thought in a lifetime that I'd ever see that thing live. And you see it on TV all the time. And Tom took us to dinner at the Opry House, like literally underneath it.
Oh, wow.
We could not go there. They have kangaroo on the menu. So after seeing them for 10 days straight, we figured may as well have one for dinner.
Yeah, he not only did take us to the Opry House, but he ordered us kangaroo meat. So we got the full Australian experience.
All right, hold on. Are you pulling my leg right now?
No.
That's a real thing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's
absolutely.
definitely a real thing.
I thought it was like this shows how ignorant I am. I thought kangaroo was like a rodent or something over there. Is that the equivalent of eating possum?
No,
Which,
it's
Spencer, you're from Mississippi.
It was on every menu. No, what did it say? Wallaby or kangaroo? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it might have been kangaroo.
But what's the other word for kangaroo that we saw? Wallaby?
Yeah, we saw wallabies.
I know, but is that the smaller kangaroo?
Yes.
Okay. But what was that other animal that we saw that was a wombat?
A wombat. Yeah.
Wombat. Okay. Okay. You can't eat those, though.
No,
but you can eat kangaroo.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it was all over. We had barbecued kangaroo.
Yeah, it's like
Oh
eating
my
deer
gosh.
over in the States.
But I mean, y'all have deer too, right? So
No, not really.
No.
I thought y'all did.
All right, imagine this. You're in Texas, or you see a field of like deer everywhere. It's literally insert kangaroo for deer. It's the same thing. It's crazy. They're everywhere. On the beaches, they were on the roads, they were in the fields, they were everywhere. But Australia was everything that I thought about. A very amazing country, and I was just impressed on how clean it was too. With the people there, it's just you never saw graffiti. Of course, maybe it was just Tom took us in the right places. I'm not sure about that, but it was just I was very impressed. And I'll tell you another thing. I don't mean to get on a tangent, but going back to plumbing, they do an amazing job with capturing rainwater. The amount of plumbing they do on rain barrels was everywhere, and that's one thing that we feature with the plumber. He was installing a rain barrel system, and it's got a water filtration because of the droughts or just the eco of why not. And so most of the houses that we saw all had these rain capturing systems that they use for the shower and cooking and everything. And that's just a whole nother element of the importance of a plumber to be able to do that, which you rarely see that, if any at all, in our country.
Yeah.
And we should be advancing some of those things to help with droughts or water or whatever. So that was unique to see. And we showcase that a lot.
Tom, what's your favorite building and why?
Yeah, I'd probably say my favorite building. I'm quite passionate about research and advancements in the construction industry. There's a building about probably 2 hours train ride north of London, and it's called the National Lift Tower. It's a historic building. It's where they used to test all the elevators and lifts, but it's been repurposed as a plumbing test facility for high-rise buildings. So I was lucky enough to go have a tour of that last year. I'm looking to go back in August. And it's just fascinating to see how they've repurposed such a historic building, focused on advancements in plumbing. So they test everything to do with high-rise building and ventilation and all the sanitary drainage systems. But outside of that, you go right to the top of the building. It's got a beautiful view of the local rugby stadium as well. So it's just a unique building in itself. It's surrounded now by a residential area, and it kind of looks a bit out of place. But how it's been repurposed and the advancements that have come out of this particular building, I'm really excited about. So that's probably my best building. It's not one that you'd usually get to experience and see or stay in or anything like that.
We ended with a bang, a range of answers from a bow blind to a amazing historical building. So thank y'all for the diversity there.
I think it fits who we are for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Guys, thank you for what y'all are doing, both on a global scale with ICC's PMG, Plumbing Mechanical Gas. You are doing so many incredible things. And again, what we deal with in a municipality, oftentimes I feel like I've seen it all, but I can't imagine what you go through on a daily basis. So thank you for leading the way in that. And then Spencer, thanks for having the vision. It's been fun to get to see the grassroots story of this thing and how it started with just an idea and it's turned into what it is. Truly, there's a need for this. It's clear, it's evident in its success. And a lot of young plumbers are getting excited about the industry because of what you're doing. So thank you, brother. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for continuing to share it and all the passion that goes with it. So that's really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks. It's been great to be involved.
I got to say, growing up in a family of plumbers, I know not only how hard that profession is, but also how thankless it can be. And look, that's not a sob story. I don't know a single plumber who needs to be thanked, but I'm grateful that American Plumber Stories has taken the time to share these stories and celebrate the unsung heroes of the plumbing world. The plumber only gets a call when it's not working, right? Also, special thanks to Spencer Brown with Pfister and ICC's Tom Roberts for their time here today, and really to American Plumber Stories as a whole for letting us be the sponsor. ICC has been and will always be a strong supporter of the plumbing community. I've experienced that personally. There are resources for contractors that include professional development and training, a suite of plumbing codes, a PMG technical team that is ready to field your questions or help with the plumbing code advocacy in your area. And honestly, the list goes on and on. And if you're not already, be sure to follow the Code Council on all your favorite social media platforms for more American Plumber Stories, behind-the-scenes content, and updates on new episodes. Our next episode is about the cream of the crop in our industry, the master code professionals. And we're going to talk to some folks who've made it to the top. And spoiler alert, they're probably going to inspire you to take the journey yourself. I know that's what happened for me. So until then, a final thought for us. In these knowledge-driven conversations that we get to have every day, people don't care how much we know until they know how much we care. So let's be quick to listen, slow to speak, and we'll meet back here next time on the ICC Pulse Podcast.